With the current inundation of garbage tier entertainment filled with propaganda and gaslighting, making people feel bad about themselves, The Terminal List is a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. And it's written by someone who actually went through combat, a former Navy SEAL, Jack Carr. So I was interested in this series because normally our military portrayals are very cartoonish, over the top. This was a wonderful show. Today, Nanoreaper, channel member, friend of mine, we're going to review these first 4 episodes for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready for The Terminal List, episodes 1 through 4. Kazooian, of course. I'm joined by Nanoreaper, channel member, friend of the channel. How you doing, man? Welcome back.
I'm doing great. I'm taking a lunch break. Well, did lunch, but just got put in Twitter jail. But you know, what else is new? So I figured I'd have a beer and break off from some sanding and have a quick conversation. Well, quick. We don't know how long this is going to last. 4 episodes. About The Terminal List, books that I have read and watched and listened to podcasts about. So do know a few funny, I guess, inside baseball things about it. So
excellent. That's I'm glad that you have that knowledge. Like I said, because I'm ultra casual to this, coming in blind to the show. And I was hooked when I finally sat down and got to watch. You know, I think the first night I watched 3 episodes, the first 3. And I was like, I didn't want to go to bed. I'm like, I want to keep watching this, but I don't want to fall asleep watching it because it's not something that you can, you want to do that with. So you have a lot of knowledge of this pre-existing universe. You go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I've read all of the books. One of the funny things is in the first first 2 books he submitted, which is The Terminal List. Second book is Savage Son, because he was so close to having gotten out of the Navy, and because Jack Carr was a SEAL commander, a lieutenant commander, and he sent out his novels to the Pentagon, because if you've been in the military and you're producing like a book and they want to go through it and they redacted it, and if you get the original hardback, you'll read, there's like lines that'll say redacted in it, that'll cover like things that may or may not have been classified or are a little too close to the truth. I was in the military at the same time as Jack Carr. We met in passing a few times. He was flying on my bird, but we drop people off mostly, so we're just big bus drivers. But we get into these books, and these books are well. First of all, I'm glad they did this as a mini-series, because if you try to take a book that's 400, 500 pages, whatever it is, a 23-hour audiobook, let's say that. They're usually how I consume fiction is you load the audiobook onto your Audible, you plug the Audible on your phone into your truck, you listen, because there's nothing worth listening to on the radio anymore. When you try to turn it, like if you turn it into a movie, you have 2 hours to condense all of that down, and that doesn't really work. You have to cut out too much. I mean, there are changes made, but those changes are made mostly for flow, and that they gotta condense it down into 8 hours.
Yeah, see, this format, I don't see this working as a movie at all. It's way too much with the depth that they go into just in the show. I mean, I can only imagine, the books, but with the show is really, it really draws you in more. So I like this format for that. That's the caveat with the book to screen adaptations, like Dune. I mean, that's a perfect example of something that never, not the modern one notwithstanding, because they're going to try to do that, in a couple installments. But Denis, not Denis Villeneuve, but the '84 one, David Lynch.
Yeah.
The 1984 David Lynch Dune was this whole novel tried to be condensed down into one movie, and that's for as long of a novel as that, it's not possible. Yes,
the paperback of Dune is like 2.5 inches thick.
Oh, that's it.
But it's still, well, I mean, if you wanted to get into Dune it's got way too much back lore. I mean, the books, the Terminal List, are a lot bloodier, a lot more gear centric than. Not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. They're a lot more visceral than say Tom Clancy ever was. Tom Clancy was more the intel side, but try to throw it into a thriller, because what intel people really do is boring ass paperwork all the time.
An exciting movie that does not make.
Well, I mean, nobody'd actually really ever want to watch a realistic police movie, because 90% of the time they'd be sitting around doing paperwork or sitting around waiting for a suspect to leave.
Or in court.
Or in court. Or begging the captain for overtime,
Yep. Oh, dude, trust me. I grew up, like I said, my dad's was a cop. So yeah, I that's what he said. He goes, like 10% of your job is actually doing stuff, and the other 90% is paperwork and court time.
Yeah, especially if you're a cop on the night shift and then have to go to morning court. That must suck.
Yeah. That's why he got on narcotics and became the Ram Man. But yeah, this so to kind of break into this episode 1, the Engram, we get to meet our character, James Reese, our main protagonist in this, and I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't really know, going in the entire premise. So I just knew Chris Pratt was playing a Navy SEAL, and I'm like, okay, it's an action. It's an action. All right, And yeah, that first mission, when everything started going south, I was just like, oh God. Like, you could kind of see the writing on the wall, the way things were unfolding. But yeah, I was kind of taken aback by the beating they took. And when you're watching it, you're unfolding like, okay, well, these guys have, supposedly had, so many successful missions, All right, so I'm like, what? You're already trying to, move the pieces on the board around in your head and figure out what went wrong here. Which, like I said, I really appreciated that, because I'm like, okay, so it's not just mindless action. You know what I mean? There's really something behind it. So it was neat, and I didn't know this is based on, is this any of this like truth or?
No, I mean, okay, some of the characters are based on real people in a way, according to Jack Carr. He does a lot of research on top of what this one, but this is the first book. So and they did change some things. First of all, that original ambush would have in the book happened in Afghanistan, not Syria, but that's not really a big departure, and it's almost not how the book started. But if they had put the scene, and you'll understand this later, if they had put the scene that started the book at the front of the pilot, it wouldn't have sold it as well, I think, as the starting with the ambush scene. Because the opening scene of episode 4, but I believe that is the first scene of the book. And then it kind of rolls back to the ambush. And you spend the first half of the book catching up to the first scene. And I don't think that would have worked as well in a film genre as it does in a book genre. Like when he takes the sniper shot to the guy in the SUV.
Boykin.
Yeah,
Boykin.
Boykin. Yeah.
Yep.
You see how that? I don't think that works as well in a film genre as it does in the book genre. It's because you're spending the first half of the book or so catching up to that point.
Yeah, so they're going to take out the arms. What's the arms dealer's name? And they've got a history.
It's not arms dealer. He's a chemical weapons manufacturer.
The chemical weapons manufacturer. Sorry, yeah. When they're going through that crypt, you're looking at that situation like this has a high probability of going wrong just because of the layout. And you're down there, and you know there's going to be explosives involved, and how old is that structure? So there's a lot of external peril set up, as well as the antagonist of going after this guy and his men. When they hit that I'm gonna rewind for a second. The guy they took with them, their source or whatever he was he their intel guy?
No. That dude was a local national Syrian Free Syrian Army trooper.
Yes.
That had local knowledge of the floor plan of the crypt.
Because I'm thinking like this cat just seems like a liability, but yeah, that tripwire.
all those tripwires, all those IEDs. Welcome to the Middle East. Welcome to Syria. And then welcome to the enemy setting up fatal funnels and stuff like that, especially with that LMG. I want to say it was a PMK, but that's been the one I watched at 4:00 this morning again, so I can't rightly remember off the top of my head. But it was some kind of it wasn't an ARP. It was a slightly heavier Russian machine gun they had down there as a
they had the machine gun nest set up.
Yeah. And I think they did a really good job with that scene. It really caught the viscerality of war down there.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God, for once, in the love of Christ, suppressors in a movie function correctly. There wasn't any... It was, slightly less loud pops.
I don't honestly think the majority of people realize that it doesn't work like it does in the movies, though. I guess if you've never actually used one or been around them like that, then you really wouldn't. I guess that's a disadvantage. But I love those silencers. It's not a silencer. It's not a silencer.
Does the muffler on your car make your car does it make your car silent? No, it doesn't.
No. Yeah, so like I said, that just goes in with the attention to detail they paid to this show, which is nice.
Well, I mean, they had a really good team working on it, so yeah.
That comes across in the production, which is good. And like I said, it helps everything, move better that way. You don't have that. I don't know. It just doesn't feel as, a lot of the military stuff they do. It just comes across as like wonky. Because
are we talking about like all of the horrible Sifu movies with Steven Seagal?
Oh God, yeah. But so no, just absolutely. But to keep it here, this because we could go off on a 2-hour tangent about how bad Steven Seagal is at everything.
The waddler.
But yeah, so we do that. I was gonna ask you before you were talking about it earlier, what kind of freaking gun they were using in that scene when they were taking fire, from that heavy machine gun. I was like, what the? Because I don't know what the hell it was.
I could have swore it was a PMK, but it wasn't an RPK, which is like the machine gun version of an AK. It was like a PMK, I want to think. I don't think it was their 14.5. I think it was their 12.7 because I'm pretty sure the Firearms Internet movie database actually has something.
When they got out of the cave and he went back to base and they're questioning him, the audio recording was different. And they, given the head trauma he sustained, it kind of threw me for a second because, they're still setting everything up. So obviously at the front end, like for me coming in, I'm like, well, is he legitimately having like, is this CTE, or is there really a discrepancy? Because the way they do it, it makes you second guess it sometimes. Like I said, man, coming in, I appreciate that because it makes me, it kind of draws you in more. It's not like you figure everything out, right up front, which I like, because it's like I like smart, smart stuff. There's sometimes you just want to turn your brain off, and there's sometimes like you watch stuff like this, and it gives you, it makes you think while you're watching it, which keeps you engaged. They were taking, they took heavy fire from that in that cave. Which led to the tripwire, because was it Donnie that freaked out, and that's where the discrepancy, or
no.
was it
They claimed Donnie flipped
they
out.
claimed he did,
but it was
wasn't it there's the Syrian guy?
Yeah, it was the Syrian guy.
It was the Syrian guy. Yeah. Like, I've only watched these episodes once. So like I said, things, there's certain things that stick out, but so that's where the discrepancy comes in. And like they get out of the cave, they lost pretty much everybody, well, except for him and Boozer.
Yeah, him and Boozer.
They were the only two left. And I love, the doctor's checking him out, and he's asking about his memory loss, and then tells him to lay off the alcohol. And the next scene we see him is when he's sitting in the bar, and that's where we meet the reporter.
Katie, Constance.
Katie.
Constance Wu's character.
Yeah, so we meet them, and he's sitting there with Boozer, which is all a hallucination, because he was already stateside at that point, and they flash back to that in later episodes. But
well, the bar, he was stateside. That bar is a bar outside of Coronado.
Oh, was that? I thought they were still over. Okay, so that's where they ran into the. Okay.
No, because he has a flight back by himself, but he thinks Boozer's is there.
That's right.
And then Ben, or what's
Ben
Edwards picks him up, or Taylor Kitsch's character.
Yeah, which I liked him. I like his character. Now, he's CIA at the time of this, is I believe what he said, right?
Yeah, he's a member of CIA Ground Branch, which you probably won't find very much information about. They're the direct action component of the Central Intelligence Agency, made up of all ex-special operations operators.
Okay, so these guys are like him. This guy, I mean, you can tell. We get to see him in action. This guy's, he's legit. He's a badass too. There was a point where I was kind of wondering about him. I'm like, is he operating with, is he going to double cross Reese at some point? It was my question. I was a little leery, because as you see things unfold, it's like, who can this guy trust? But that's down the line though. And we get the flashes of his family too. He goes home, and we get to see, Lauren and their daughter Lucy. And that's when, he's putting her to bed that night, and she shows him the drawing that he kind of carries with him. But
the list ends up being written on the back of.
Yes. And that, like I said, that's a prominent piece of the story all throughout these episodes. When now in the morning, he gets the call that Boozer had shot himself with his team pistol. Really pisses Reese off, because he's confused, and he was talking about they were drinking together in the bar the day before, and Boozer had hated the team issued pistol. What did he say? He would have done it with a 1911, I think it was.
Because Boozer didn't like 9mm. Boozer preferred a 45, so he would have used, a 1911 to do it instead of a Sig 226.
Yeah, that was so right there you're seeing all these things come into play. And it's like, are they gaslighting him? Is this and the guy that plays the FBI agent?
No, it's NCIS agent.
NCIS Holder. The way the scenes kind of flow together, It does. It really makes you second guess him when he's kind of pitching that the audio has been doctored, because it seems very far-fetched that someone would go that far. But at that point, you're kind of thinking, okay, so this has got to be his injuries and everything he's been through, PTSD, CTE, things like that, coming back to really hit him.
Yeah.
She kind of after he messages her, she's the one that believes there's the conspiracy going on, and he didn't really accept her ideas, but now he emails her, and she shows up, and she's definitely convinced at this point there's something going on, but it's not a conspiracy. Not yet. So yeah, he and James, Katie leaves, and James, he admits to his wife that he needs to go to a doctor. And yeah, okay, so this scene with the MRI machine, that shit was because you're like, is he imagining this when the hitters come in? And they've killed everybody in the room, and you're like, what the hell? It's all dark. He comes out of the machine. That was wicked. It was like, because I was second guessing everything. I'm like, is this even real? Because he's fighting the guy. I'm like, is he like killing the doctors and shit in the room right now? That's kind of what I was thinking.
The two guys, because there's two hitters, and
you got the one he kills because the body's gone, everything's cleaned up. That there's no evidence of the hitters coming in. There's just the spots from the doctors and other attendants in there getting killed. So yeah, that did a number on him. But that forearm wound he has with, I believe it was the knife, that comes into play later on in episode 4, I think it is. Yeah, it's episode 4. But yeah, this and the messed up thing about this part is he's got Reese's pistol, and that brings him to the realization that his home might have been compromised. And then he goes home, and we see the scene where Lauren and Lucy are dead on the kitchen floor, which is anybody's nightmare. So this really rounds out episode 1 on a really huge, the protagonist, going through even more in one episode. I mean, he's already lost his entire team, and now, he comes home. The one guy that survived, he, supposedly kills himself, which he doesn't believe because the situations. Then gets attacked during an MRI, comes home, and his wife and daughter are found dead like that. And he's second guessing in some of his own thoughts in his head at this point. So as a viewer, you're still on that what's real and what isn't. And as far as, is he doing this? Is he, creating these scenarios in his head due to the injuries and everything and PTSD and enacting these violent scenarios, that are hallucinations, but then you see, oh shit, this isn't.
You get in. I mean, they did a really good job at that point of making it basically seem like, you're questioning whether Reese is crazy or not.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're starting to see telltales that he may not be crazy as you're going through all of this. So there is that. And then when we get into episode 2, which is really where the show really starts to pick up.
Season 1, episode 2, Encoding. And that starts out with Reese being interrogated by the police. And then we have the funeral for his wife and his daughter. And yeah, that was tough. You get Marco taking Reese to meet Ben and Liz at a makeshift wake on the beach with the bonfire, because I was having some apprehension about him, given the nature of the fighting skill set, you're like, and we don't really know this guy yet. They haven't really divulged too much. And given that you're starting to see that this is some, a underlying conspiracy taking place, you're like, who can we trust? So he has no bruises or wounds on him. And Liz was that's Riley. Liz, she was the one he saved in was it
Najarif in 2007.
Yes.
Her Kiowa scout was shot down.
Yep.
So,
and they went in and weren't supposed to. They were told to stand down because there was Rangers incoming.
Yeah, but they were like 15 minutes out when you needed them there yesterday.
We get Reese. He goes home, and then we have the flashbacks with Lauren and Lucy,
and more of that really really good piece of imagery they do with the starling.
Yes, the bird hitting the window.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was something unique to the series, and it was really, really good imagery used. That wasn't in the book. I think that was courtesy of Antoine Fuqua, the guy that the original director for the pilot. I think that was and he was also one of the executive producers on the show. So that he used that imagery really well. But he tends to use imagery really well, especially if you've seen like Training Day.
Oh God, yeah. That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, so he knows. I mean, he does imagery really, really well. So he was the executive producer on the show, as well as Jack Carr and ChrisPratt. Because Jack Carr wanted to sell this to Amazon when he first wrote it, and Amazon didn't want to buy it. And a Navy SEAL buddy of his that was in Hollywood handed the book before it was even in print. It was like a pre-release copy to ChrisPratt, and ChrisPratt bought the script.
Okay.
So that's how that all Amazon missed out on that one. Might have been a better thing, because we all know how Amazon can ruin IPs if they're not only just providing funding.
It might be better to keep Amazon hands off it, judging by the looks of the Rangs of Power, but that's another story altogether. So
I was actually going to say the Jack Ryan series. How they butchered that, but and Without Remorse, which is my favorite Tom Clancy book, and they completely butchered that as a movie.
He walks into the room, draws his weapon, and it's him. And he sees his hands are raised. He's holding his service weapon, but there's no gun in his hands. And that's when we get the NCIS. They show up at his house, and they're talking about the discrepancies with what safe he put the gun in that night. Because he and Reese insist it was the bedroom, and they're telling him it was the garage.
The bedroom means that somebody had to. It wasn't some gangbanger taking it out because they could pick the safe. It was somebody that actually could, because California has ridiculous gun laws, and they apply to you at the instant you stop roll off base, and you're required to keep your handguns unloaded and locked in a safe. So you're just like, so he has a biometric safe by the bed that all you got to do is slap a fingerprint on it and go. So those are harder to fake.
So you can't, so that really made them look bad, because he's uncovering their bullshit, which is starting to come to the surface. And that's where he gets the meeting with the Admiral, and he tells them that it shouldn't be NCIS. It's supposed to be counterintelligence. And this is when he gets into it with the Admiral, and he puts him against the wall, which I was like, at that moment you just want to just bust this guy in the face, because you can tell they're gaslighting him.
Yeah, because he's a convenient scapegoat for what we'll find out later. I want to say about midway through the episode, this episode is when he decides to what's her name? Katie gets the medical release from him.
Yeah, she gets him to sign off on his medical records, and she throws him under the bus to hold her, and says he pulled his gun on her.
Yeah, but she has the medical records, which is when they find out. Well, they don't find out about the tumor till the next episode. In episode 2, we have the whole. I think this is when he figures out that Holder's somebody's bagman.
Yes.
And he starts to build the target package on Holder.
Yep.
Which, first of all, Holder was drinking Michelob Ultra. What a white girl beer.
Reese, let's see. Katie goes over to Reese's home to give him the news. And let's see. He makes her the deal that if he can see the police report she has, that's when he signs the medical records to her.
Yeah.
And the release to look over the CT scan. And he gives her the Faraday bag to put a smartphone in and a flip phone, a Jethro Gibbs phone like my dad still has, to text him because of the government, monitoring him and all that.
Well, they also talk about that app that they use.
He gives her the name of a pay app, to transfer onto, because like you said, WhatsApp was compromised. And then he's going over the report later on, and how Holder was first on the scene at the scene of the crime at the clinic, and he's looking at his, he looks over pictures of his social media, and he's looking at the eyes and trying to picture the guy he pulled the mask off of, and that's pretty much when he's sure that Holder was there.
Why is the NCIS special agent the first one at the MRI clinic?
That makes no sense.
Yeah, and the first one. How are you there unless you're there?
Yep. Yeah, that doesn't. That's one of those things that doesn't add up.
The detectives don't beat patrol to a crime scene.
No. That never happens.
Detectives, they got to first stop by the donut shop and stop by the Starbucks, and then they kind of show up. They don't show up. They're not your patrol officers, and if there's an active shooter, then SWAT, they secure the scene. Do they actually get everything done? It doesn't make sense. That's where their Holder's story is starting to fall apart.
Yeah, it starts to unravel. Reese pulled the right thread, and things definitely start to come unraveled. So we get, what's her name? Jean Triplehorn's character, Secretary Hartley, visits Reese, and she tells him Kahani's dead, and the man behind the killings is no longer a threat, and he sees that on the news. In the miniseries, they make her character so much more likable than the character is in the books. The character in the books is a Hillary Clinton. Oof. Really?
Literally, in that book, it's literally pretty much Hillary Clinton. It may have been a jab at Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to say it was, but it may have been a jab at Hillary Clinton.
I like this next sequence because Reese starts doing the recon on Holder's apartment, goes so far as to look at her apartment there, so he can practice breaking into it, and this was great, and Ben finds out Holder accessed Reese's biometrics 2 days before the murder, and that means he has the fingerprints. And his CIA friend Ben at that point gives him the preferred gun of Boozer and tells him, for the girls. And that's when he goes into Holder's house and he's got the suppressor right in the mouth of Holder, and he gets them all zip tied up there. And, he starts, of course, crying like a little bitch because he knows his number's up at this point.
Yeah, and he also copies. Well, he also breaks in before that, remember, because he recons it. He clones, he copies all the information on his. Well, first of all, he uses tradecraft. So he takes a picture of the coffee table. You'll notice this before he goes in and moves the tablet and the phone, or the tablet, and basically copies all the files off of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, he looks at the picture to make sure everything's back in the right spot.
And that tips the cap to people who are going to watch it and know that kind of stuff, which is nice, for them to include that. But that shows, like you said, who wrote it and who's behind it, and he has experience in the field. So it does. It really, it's just polished. It's more polished that way. You get Holder giving Reese the Saul Agnon name at this point too, and that's who's paying Holder. Right here we get the little fight scene with because let's see, he hits Reese, and then he's about to do it again, and then the 45 goes right underneath the chin, and Reese paints the walls.
Pretty good there, and then leaves and fakes the scene to make it look like a suicide.
Yeah, he's got Saul Agnon's name, which is played by Sean Gunn, and he played that very swarmy to where I think he wasn't really acting.
Funny story is, like, if I listened to the podcast, and it was like one that he was actually pitched that role on an airplane flight to another shoot. And he agreed to it, and it was perfect because that dude was such a worm. It was great.
Oh, absolutely. Seeing his demise was very, very satisfying.
Oh, and then you have his. Okay, we open up. What is it? Episode 3 at this point.
Yeah, we're at episode 3.
Doesn't that if I remember correctly, that episode opens with the CEO that is basically a Dan Banzarian wannabe, the Navy SEAL wannabe Steve Horn, which is they changed him I like this change because they took him from being a kind of a snotty middle-aged executive that was shooting sporting clays to a Dan Banzarian wannabe. With the fucking the like crypto bro bitch made motherfucker that likes to that. The crypto bro that's like a wannabe Navy SEAL. So I was like, that's like Dan Banzarian. Yes, I will continue to make fun of that guy because I almost was a Navy SEAL. Well, that's kind of like you almost were an astronaut. You're either an astronaut or you're not. That dude goes through we come into that shoot house scene where they're doing simu missions, with the which basically are blanks and lasers and high-tech laser tag, and that scene was really, and he berates his dudes that he hired that are all former special forces type thing. And if I remember, this is episode 3. And that's when we're introduced to the Saul Agnew character and the crypto bro, Steve Horn.
Yep, we get because Katie meets Reese at that restaurant, shows him the results of his CT scan, and that's when he notices somebody acting kind of weird, and they skip out, and it's that Gordo guy, and Reese slams into his car, gets out, and just shoots him, just empties his mag out on him.
First of all, Reese gets out, The dude fires at the Land Cruiser,
Yep.
takes out, and then Reese turns around. He shoots Jack Carr 3 times because that's actually Jack Carr playing that character.
Oh, was that?
Yes, that's an Easter egg. And then
that's cool.
Then he finds and Jack on the podcast said that was the hardest thing was playing dead on camera. And another funny thing is after the terminal list, because Jack Carr loves Land Cruisers, he bought the Land Cruiser they used in the terminal list.
Nice.
The 60 series.
Yeah.
Because anybody knows Land Cruisers knows that they're divided up by series. You have 40 series, which was the original FJs. You have 60s, 70s. 70s were never available in the United States unless you imported them. You have 80s, which is the ones from the early 90s. Then you have the ones that just turned into soccer mom mobiles. But yeah, so that was Jack Carr's cameo. And then does it go to the shoot house scene?
After that, I think we went to he's skipping out. Katie tells him she's gonna kind of look into Capstone. And then we go to Agnon meeting with Horn.
All right, okay, yeah.
And then Horn's gonna send him to
Santa Barbara.
To meet with. It's funny too because the guy that plays Mike in that, the guy that originally started Capstone. I'm looking up. He's from RoboCop.
No, wait, the Mike dude, not Steve Horn. Okay,
the little short. Yeah.
Okay, Capstone is an investment firm. And they basically bought a controlling share, and Llewellyn, the pharmaceutical company, gave him money, but had a controlling interest. And now they're selling it to the dude that looks like a mobster from The Sopranos, and they need to sell it before.
So, yeah, Sal's getting sent to the Santa Barbara meeting to try to push that deal through with the Eli character that looks like the mobster. And then...
he even had a fedora on, for fuck's sake.
He did. He did. And then Ben's been scouting on Sal up in Santa Barbara. And we go over there. And this is great because... after the guy decides not to take the deal that night, he just kicks everybody out. Sal just kicks everybody out.
Well, and that's we're missing a couple of scenes. First of all,
yeah,
we have you have the golf scene where Saul gets blown off, but you also notice when you watch that scene, Tyler's watching Saul, right? Mm-hmm. And when the dude hits the golf ball, everybody else's heads turn. Tyler's doesn't. He keeps an eye on Saul.
Yep.
And then we have the strip club scene.
I forgot about that.
I mean, it's like a classic 80s strip club scene where, of course, it plays into that trope of, but it kind of is true. Every stripper's a drug dealer. And so he buys 3 methadone wafers off of the stripper, who's sold by the DJ, which is why the DJs usually do have more money than the strippers. And then we get to the party scene where, when the sale is decided not to be made that night, and they leave. He's like, "Fuck off, leave."
Yep. Yep. And it couldn't have been more perfect. I love how Reese just
the dog is perfect. The little freaking ankle biting, was it a pug?
I think it was a pug.
Yeah, I mean,
everything fit perfectly together with that character.
The only dog is not as more annoying than a pug is a Chihuahua.
You get Reese. You see him. He's getting ready for bed, and the plastic bag over the head was a nice touch.
And the whole Tyvek's bunny suit to keep from leaving any DNA. That was a nice touch too.
Yeah, I was gonna say he thought that out perfectly. And this is where we get the name reveal of Steve Horn, and he's got friends that set up the ambush in Syria, and this is linked to the RD 4895, which is worth a lot of money. And Saul says there's a hitman by the name of, was it Marcus Boykin?
No, Marcus Boykin's the
not
banker.
the hitman. He's the banker. He's the financial guy. Yeah,
Navajas,
so he gives him.
Navajas is the
Navajas is the guy from the clinic. Yep. He was the one at the clinic with the forearm, the knife wound on his left forearm.
Yeah, he's the one that didn't get away. He's the one that got away.
Got away. Yep. So and then he got the Boykin name, which is the banker, out of him too. So he's got Horn's name and he's got Boykin, and he gives what does he inject him with?
Methadone.
He injects him with the methadone. Yeah, so he's dead. Katie, him and Katie kind of find out about the RD 4895 from their own. Like I said, he's found out about it. James did, and she finds out about it from her source, which is, I can't remember who it was. But it all goes back to Horn, and he makes that Saul look like a OD. And that's kind of how the episode we kind of end off there.
Well, I thought it ended with him and Tyler burning evidence.
Oh yeah, they're burning more of the evidence, because that's how it started. They were burning the hit package or the target package on Holder, and then this one he's getting rid of all the evidence from Santa Barbara.
And Ben asks him, shooter's choice. Do you want blood or answers? Meaning, do you want to take out Boykin or Holder next?
Yeah. And that leads into the beginning of episode 4,
which is the Eccles rifle, the Eccles 300 Win Mag with a Night Force scope shot through the, which is Boykin, who is the financier douchebag, who in the book it's in Wyoming. In the TV show,
it was they went to Wyoming for this. He said he still lived in Wyoming.
Yeah, in reality, that was actually shot just outside of LA.
Really?
In the mountains. First thing, Boykin wakes up, posts an extra douchey selfie to Instagram.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please don't omit that, because he posted a douche self to Instagram.
Yeah, and I was like, in front of his mansion with a manicured lawn that probably uses enough water to provide for 100 cattle, in his Jackson Hole ranch that all these douchebags have bought, that drives up the property in freaking Wyoming. And I think it was there was a Taycan, and I want to say that was a McLaren Spider out in front. And so, complete douchemobile, new money douchemobile.
Yep.
In the book, before you had it was supposed to be a G-Wagon, which is actually more douchey. But you can't get a G-Wagon to flip like that. They just slide on their side. So rollover protection rating on a G-Wagon is good. Not good, so good for a Porsche.
No, that did not work out well for him.
Well, and then Reese goes down and clones the phone.
Yep, gets all his data.
And that's where we get the trip to the end of the trip to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
aka Malibu.
Yep. This is episode 4 is titled Detachment. And yeah, he goes to meet. Remember, he tries to get Liz to leave, and he doesn't want to put her in danger, and she's like, nope, she's not going anywhere. And she flies him down to Mexico to see Marco and his
Malibu. It's actually
Malibu.
It was all of that stuff was shot in Malibu, not Baja. But the airfield was in the airfield they use in all of this is the same airfield. They just shoot it from different angles. Reasons, you gotta save money where you can, I guess,
Yep.
So they go down to Mexico, they meet with Marco, and you see all of those old Land Rovers and the new one. And Marco is like up in Baja California somewhere. It almost looks like the cloud forests of Mexico up in there.
Ben was there. Ben was there too.
Yeah.
Ben showed up down there because he's got a couple days off, and they found they had located Navajas.
Yeah. Marco's
his head of security.
Yeah.
An intel guy had come up with all that, and he's got a clear plan to use a sniper, a sniper shot to take him out. And Reese is like, that's not going to do. He wants it up close and personal because of what happened to his daughter, obviously. Yeah. So, and the way that they died, because it was, it came to light that Lauren died protecting Lucy. So so they're gonna, Ben and Reese are gonna go in, and Liz and Marco.
Well, wait, we're missing a scene right here.
Oh wait, what are we missing?
When they're planning it out on the map table, Reese collapses.
Yeah, that's right. He has an episode,
and that's when the doctor that they had in there basically tells him he needs surgery. Because drugs are not going to make it go away.
Yep.
And then we go back into the culmination scene of the whole thing, where they just go in, him and a couple of the security guys kind of go into the Sicario training camp outside of Ensenada, and there's this. You see Ben working that shotgun, that Beretta 1301. And they're coming in with ARs and shotguns, and they got a machine gun and a sniper rifle on the outside, and they just
they laid waste to that place.
And I mean, there's it's pretty gruesome. You're not going to normally see that in a TV show, not on network TV anyway.
No. When he finally got to Navajas, he got him the old tomahawk there, kind of just.
Well, what he did was he took him. Well, first of all, he drags him through the mud. And the thing is Ben Edwards, the actor that was playing, when you see him go down in that scene, he'd actually rolled his ankle and fell, and they just kind of went with that take.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. And then the actor actually had gone through and practiced with the tactical shotgun, like all the reloads, so he could do it without, looking like an idiot. Because running a shotgun like that takes practice. And then you have the end where, what is it? Reese shoots the guy through his arm, makes him drop his gun, makes him drop his knife, drags him up zip cuffed up above him, and then hangs him on a hook. Then takes his tomahawk and guts him with the tomahawk. Takes his intestines out, pins it to the the beam, and cuts the zip ties so he'll fall, and so he'll just bleed out from his intestines. So that was not going to happen very quickly or be painless in any way, shape, or form.
No, it was a perfect ending for that guy too, for Navajas. Really really exacted his revenge there, but now he's got Horn on the list to deal with. And in that time we get the FBI taking over the case of finding Reese for killing the assassin. This is when we get the FBI, Tony, and I can't think of the female agent's name offhand. But we get them taken over, and they find where Katie is, and she's hiding at her brother's at the home, her brother's home,
her beach house.
The beach house there. Tony, they find her there, and they tell her about was it Agnon and Holder's bodies, and she, but she's telling them she doesn't know where Reese is, so she maintained a little bit. And I like Constance Wu in this role. I think I wasn't sure about her character at first, but I'm like, okay, I really like this character. And then we get Horn, your boy Horn, Crypto Bro Horn, trying to keep the deals together now that Saul has quote unquote overdosed, and the investors, including Paul McCrane, that's his name, I had to look it up, Mike Tedesco, the character. Paul McCrane was one of my favorite villains in RoboCop. He was the one that was melting. But anyway, and he's telling him they're having a problem with the government contracts because of the Secretary of State's budget, her new budget thing.
Or so that's SecDef, not Secretary of State.
SecNev, sorry. SecNev, yeah. Secretary of Defense. Her budget proposal is really putting a cramp on a lot of this stuff. So we get, but that's where we develop and see that there's somebody working against her from the inside too coming up. And this is Katie. At the end of the episode, she gets that phone call explaining what Horn has to do with all of this, because like you talked about earlier, he has controlling share of New Bellum, and they have the medications have been issued to all 6 branches of government for years, I think they said. And the company's days away from being sold for was it like $50-60 billion or something like that. And this is why Horn is trying to push the deal to get through, because he needs all this to happen before all the budget shit takes place.
They're starting to figure everything out.
Yep.
And honestly, I would say that what they tried to do, the pacing in the first half of this season was really well done. They built it up to a really good climax in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm. No, it was really good, because you get Katie's figuring out, she gets the call, figures what Horn has to do with everything, and it goes back to New Bellum, which they've issued their medications to all the branches of the federal government for over the course of many years, and the company has, I had to look it up. It was a I said 50 or 60 earlier. It was a $70 billion pending sale. And this is why Horn's trying to push that Eli Henry guy or whatever his name is, about, or push Henry, not Eli, push Henry about the budget and keep things level with Tedesco, Paul McCrane's character, Mike. And yeah, that's when, Katie takes off and Tony's following her. James, this is, and James and Riley are coming back from Mexico at this point to, leaving Malibu and, going back to LA.
Well, I mean, a lot of it was filmed, on location, but not internationally. But they did a really good job.
It looked good. It did. It looked good. But yeah, so they're leaving to come back, and that's when he gives Marco the rifle.
The Eccles rifle.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not exactly the easiest rifle to find right now, but yeah, the prop master did a really good job putting all this stuff together.
What was nice was no cinematographers were shot during the course of the movie.
Oh yeah,
or the show, and the prop master wasn't out drunk with people who weren't even involved with the series, target shooting with live rounds and things. So that was, that's always nice on set. But no, so that's how we left off the 4th episode. And like you said, it really, over the course of the first 4 episodes, it really built to a very good point in the series, to where it's like you're not getting tired of this at all. You're gonna want more.
The only people that were getting tired of it were the Hollywood critics that never actually watched it,
because they were the only ones giving it negative reviews, because they called it like a white power revenge fantasy.
Yeah, something like. Well, they love to hate on ChrisPratt, and they love to hate on basically anyone out there. So
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't follow their narrative of, we know what's best for you, just get in your pod and eat bugs, and we'll continue to do what we want to do. But yeah, they did a really good job building this up, and they did a really good job. I think putting it as an 8-episode series is about perfect.
Yeah, given like we talked about, the pacing and the way they're revealing things along the way, it's done well. 8 episodes. Any more than that, I think you'd be spreading yourself a little thin. Maybe every episode, it's like a good sandwich. You know what I mean? It's not too much. It's not too. It's just enough to satisfy you. It is perfect. That's what I've really come to like about this show. Is its action. It's got a little. The everything seems very grounded for the most part. But I think that's due to who wrote it and the experiences that he had. And that leads to a more realistic presentation.
Yeah, and I mean, if you went more than 8 episodes, you'd have to start going into the second book. So, well, maybe we'll get Jack Reese Savage Son next year. Who knows? Or a couple years down the road. You never can tell with TV shows these days.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we'll be doing next episodes 5 through 8, and this is I enjoyed this. This was fun, man. Okay, so you can come back and check out myself and Nanoreaper as we do episodes 5 through 8, which will probably be up in about a week or so. We'll get that recorded, and I'll have that put out for you guys. So, Nano, it's been good talking with this, and I'm looking forward to the second edition of this review series. I thank you for recommending this show. It's been, like I said, so far it's been an absolute joy to watch something that's really good for a change.
Yeah, it is a pleasant change over modern Hollywood. And, you know, actually have a show that's not about the message.
Exactly. So, yep, this has been Kazooian and Nanoreaper from the Place to Be Reviews, right here with all the U's. If we don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow. We'll catch you on the next one. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot to tell you. Do you want to send us stuff? Because this is how you send us stuff. We have a P.O. Box now. That's right. P.O. Box 924, Prudenville, Michigan 48657. If you have anything you'd like to send in to the Place to Be Reviews, that's where it goes, and that's where your packages will be coming from as well when I ship things out to you, my Kazooians.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Up into the ring in just a moment or two for more exciting fucking action.
Get your own.
Take that, you bitch!
No! What the hell?
How'd you like that?
Hey, joke's on you. I have hepatitis.
Boom! I could do